Hi everyone, welcome to this week's live. We have an amazing guest for everyone. Obviously here is myself and Jason Sloan, and we have Josh. Can you please introduce yourself, Josh?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Josh Pinter. I'm president of American Shield Roofing and Construction down here in Hockley, Texas. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, lovely to have you here today. We have a couple of questions to kind of start with the live. And I think the main purpose is to get to know a little bit more about our engagement between your company and ours. So first and foremost, how long have you been in business?
So we just came, it'll be 2 years in November officially.
2 years in November, okay.
Yep.
And you've been with us for about a year or so roughly, you mentioned, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so far, what has your experience been like?
I would say my experience has been very, very positive for a lot of different reasons. First started out, I can't even remember how Jason and I got connected. I'm assuming it was through Facebook, and then once we got go ahead. What?
Let me interject. It was Bill Hicks connected us.
That's right. Thank you, Bill Hicks. Yep. Now of Hail Trace connected us. Thank you. And then after that, got introduced to the Furtado Law Solutions. Got to talking with Kyle, and then he and I have been working together ever since.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. We're so happy to have you on board with us as well. I believe that a lot of business owners, what they want is to find a connection that works very well with their business and also with everything else that it entails. So what has your experience been like working along with Kyle? It is with Kyle that you work mostly with, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So, so my experience with Kyle has been very, very good. He and I have a really good relationship, and I would say we've kind of not only business associates but friends. I'm able to call him up, talk to him about work or whatever jobs we got going on with him, etc. And one of the things that I really like about Kyle is when we started out, he's like, hey, first question he asks is, what's a good profit margin for you? And I was like, well, 50 and above would be great. And he goes, all right, well, 50 is good. And that's, kind of where I usually shoot for. So, every time we send over a job, what he'll do is he'll look at it, he'll give me a call and he'll go, okay, tell me about this job. Is there anything specific I need to know about it? Is there anything that you're concerned about? Are there any, potential gotchas, those kinds of things? Are there any concerns about code enforcement, stuff like that? I'll tell him if there are any concerns. If not, him and his team get after it, and he'll give us, especially nowadays because of all the recent storms and down here in Texas, we had the big snowstorm up in Colorado. That's kind of an every year occurrence, but down here in Texas, especially Southeast Texas, not so common. So because of that, there was some stuff that came around, and it's been very difficult to get carriers to really pay for roofs because they're paying for, interior water damage remediation, those kinds of things. So they're not really concentrating on roofs. They're concentrating on kind of the big issue that happened. I believe it was back in February. So that has been something that, we've had to look at doing much more pre-supplementing of claims than usual. And because of that, and because of their work and their backlog on the claims that they do have that are not necessarily roofs, it's tend to drag things out. And so from now on, we've kind of made it a policy that, look, especially certain carriers, we're like, look, we're not going to touch this roof until the supplement is pre-approved and ready for production. And because of that, we've been working with Kyle in that regard. And he's really, I would say 9 out of 10 claims that we've worked with him has been phenomenal. I mean, you're always going to have that one that just, for whatever the reason, that the adjuster doesn't want to play ball or the carrier doesn't want to play ball. And, you could always take them to appraisal, but sometimes it's just not worth it. The juice is not necessarily worth the squeeze. So And we make those decisions together as a team. And like I said, I mean, I when I talk to my customers, I say, hey, this gentleman, Kyle with Furtado Law Solutions is going to be calling you. I mean, the way I introduce them to my customers, hey, you just consider Kyle an extension of my team. Okay. Yeah, he works for another company. But he is essentially, you say anything to him, you'd be willing to say to me. And I've done several 3-way calls with Kyle and clients before. He's really good at at explaining the process, from whatever we're working on, from a supplement to an appraisal situation or whatever. Sometimes he's even better in explaining it to the client than I am. So, and I don't know if it's because you guys are a law firm, owned by an attorney, but it carries a little bit of weight, and that seems to have helped us in our business. That's a long answer to a short question.
No, but I genuinely appreciate your answer. I mean, it seems that the experience so far has been very good. How has that attributed to the growth in your own business?
Good question. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I mean, I think we're probably like a lot of clients or a lot of contractors out there that start up from the ground up. Again, we talked kind of before the call. My partner is actually the one that asked me to come into this business with him. He was selling roofs for another company, and he asked me, hey, listen, you know a lot about contracts and stuff like that because of your background. My background is in IT and technology sales, and contracts are a big thing, right? So that really helps when it comes to reading policies and those kinds of things. So, and even as far as like subcontractor agreements and all that kind of stuff, right? So, so when we started out, he was really more the construction-minded kind of guy, and so when we first started getting into the insurance restoration, we were thinking, hey, so many dollars per square on a roof, man, that's awesome. Let's do it, right? We didn't necessarily think that there was even more that could be had on top of what the base pay rate was. So, I worked on reading some different materials, talking to different people in the industry, like Jason, like others, and Kyle, right? And it's like, hey, there is more, and you can make your business more profitable because the bottom line is there's 2 things you can affect, right? The only thing you can really affect is your cost of doing business and the price that you sell for. So, and then managing your expenses, right? So we really wanted to be sure that when we're doing these jobs, that especially on some of these on this insurance stuff, we're able to take advantage of what can be covered because it's being paid for a reason. There's coverage, there's endorsements and stuff for a reason, for certain situations, and there's exclusions for a reason, right? And that's something else that we're running into a lot, where a lot of these customers have these really crappy policies, and you want to be able to help them, and sometimes there's just nothing you can do. But to that end, making sure that our profit margins are increasing, which they have. I mean, clearly, we've had specifically a couple of claims recently that have been really big winners, and I attribute it with Kyle and being our partner in this venture.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's definitely very rewarding to hear that the partnership has been great for both ends. Now, I want to move a little bit more into your way of structuring your business. You mentioned that you've been in business for 2 years. We have a lot of viewers who are barely starting their business. Some have been in the business for a very long time. Is there any advice that you could potentially provide for some of these people that are barely starting?
Yeah, I mean, so, you have to understand that when we started this company, I come from, again, technology, sales, and that kind of stuff. So my whole thing was I want to concentrate on what I know really well, right? Which is, for me, is sales and marketing. At the same time, anything that I don't know well, that it takes to run a business, I'm going to outsource that as much as possible, right? I want to outsource that to people that are experts. And for example, like accounting and bookkeeping, right? One thing I knew that I did not want to do, I did not want to have to manage QuickBooks. I did not want to have to worry about payroll taxes and quarterly taxes and all those kinds of things. So I hired somebody to do that for us, right? And they're on a retainer with us. They manage all that stuff. We don't have to worry about it. If you're interested in that kind of thing, or if you're interested in doing that for your business, feel free to reach out to me through Jason or Kyle or Facebook or whatever, and I'm happy to connect and refer you. But we pay a monthly retainer fee, and they handle everything for us, right? All I have to worry about is going out and finding more work, right? And then once that work comes in, we have the claims been filed, customers ready to rock and roll. We have the claim, we have a signed contract, send it over to you guys, and then you guys work on maximizing the profit for that job, which is going to help me continue to pay my overhead, pay my business expenses, make profit for the company, and stay in business. So that's one of the things that we've done. The other thing we've done is, again, I come from technology, right? So it's kind of weird. We started this business as a virtual office, right? So we use currently we use RingCentral for our cloud-based PBX system. It's really just a phone app, okay, is what it is. I think Furtado uses RingCentral, if I'm not mistaken. And we have an app on our phones, and basically we can be anywhere we need to be as long as we have our phone with us. We have our office with us, right? So for me, there was no reason to go out and try to find a brick and mortar office at this point, because at this point we're just not ready for that, right? We don't have to have that to do business. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, right? And then the new normal happened, right? So you've got commercial real estate out there right now that's just sitting vacant and empty because either people have canceled their leases or everybody's working remotely, right? And if those businesses are still working remotely, and they can work remotely because of technology, there's a high likelihood that those businesses are going to cancel their leases and everybody's going to work from home, right? And that goes straight to the bottom line. So if there's major corporations doing it, I don't see why a small roofing contractor in Texas can't do it either. I know there's a lot of people out there that are all about having a brick and mortar, and man, if you've got the overhead budget to pay for that, knock yourself out, right? It's not going to work for us right now. I'm not saying that we won't in the future. I'm just saying that right now for us, it doesn't make sense.
And that actually makes total sense. Everyone, I think, goes at their own pace. And if right now this is working for you, fabulous.
Yeah.
That's all good to hear. Okay. And let's see. You and I talked previously, and I asked you a little bit about your personal life. Are you married? Yep. Your children? Can tell us a bit more?
Yeah. So I have been happily married for 17 years. And I've got 2 children. I've got a 15-year-old daughter and a 11-year-old daughter. And they're involved in, competitive cheer and horseback riding and all those kinds of things. So they definitely, with all their extracurricular stuff, they definitely keep us busy. And being involved in the roofing stuff, that's kind of starting to happen a little bit. Every once in a while, they'll want to go with me to different things and look at different things. And so it's pretty cool to be able to do that and know that this is something that my partner and I have kind of started from the ground up. And now our kids are kind of getting interested in it as to, okay, well, help me understand this. And I even took my oldest daughter with me to go door knocking a while back. And and so she's wanted to save up money for a vehicle. And I told her, I said, well, listen, we can go knock doors together. And, if you help me, and we get this roof, then, I'll pay you commission, just like, I would pay myself commission, or we would pay my partner commission. And she's like, really, really, really? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So that's an ongoing thing, because again, she's 15. So we've gone out once, and trying to get her to go back out again is a little bit of a challenge, right? So that's something that, but it's fun. It's fun, and it's a good time.
And not only are you passing down a legacy, but work ethic. And I think that is so important. And how do you balance work and your personal life? Is there
I don't do it very well.
I think it's hard.
So I don't do it very well, but you got to have you got to definitely have the reset button. You got to take time to spend time with family and friends, because without family and friends, what's the point of doing this whole thing, right? So, but yeah, it's something that again, virtual office, right? And we're able to. We've got some reps that work for us too, and because we're a small company, for us to stay healthy and stay in business, we don't need to do the amount of volume that a lot of these larger companies need to do. And we've been able to leverage a lot of, referrals and referrals from customers we've already done. We do have some active ad campaign marketing going on right now. And we also have been leveraging social media some. And again, it's, good news travels fast and bad news travels even faster, right? So it's important, for example, our whole thing, our whole go-to-market, and one of the things that, when we were writing the business plan as a team, my partner and I, it was what is going to set us apart? How are we going to be different than everybody else? And one of the things was like, listen, at the end of the day, nobody likes to have to come up with a deductible check to replace their roof. Nobody wants their roof torn off and, debris in their front yard and all around their house. And, you got tarps and, some people use the catch-all and all that jazz. But at the end of the day, nobody wants to go through that, right? Because you're essentially doing construction on your house that you're currently living in. You're not building a house. You're having additional work done to a main area of your house that can be problematic. So for us, we wanted to make the entire roof replacement process as easy and as painless as possible. And that was really our whole go-to-market, right? It was really about, hey, how can we take potentially a negative situation, be open, honest, and frank with our clients or potential clients, tell them the truth, right? Tell them the truth, tell them what this is going to look like, explain to them, walk them through the insurance restoration process, walk them through their insurance paperwork, answer any questions that they may have, and just make sure that they're comfortable, right? Because at the end of the day, there's stories all the time. I think you guys even publish them, right? And some of the other guys published them as well. Like, where these contractors, they just go through, they sell a bunch of jobs, they go through, they collect all the ACV checks, and they're gone, right? And so, that makes people really, really nervous.
Yeah.
And because especially in roofing, there's that stigma of that. And so when you come across as professional, polite, there to help them solve the problem and make it as painless as possible, that for us, that's been a very successful go-to-market, and it's something that we're continuing to do to this day.
Okay. Well, it sounds like your company focuses a lot on building a healthy relationship with the client prior to anything else. And I think that's very important as well. Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of jobs does your company focus on? Do you do everything when it comes to?
Oh, good question. So actually, because of that customer service, we were actually able to get, our first commercial. It was a small commercial. It was a commercial job that Kyle actually helped us with, and it was actually a referral from an insurance customer to her agent.
Okay.
She actually went and said she sent me the letter. She was very, very difficult. I mean, she was very, very difficult at first to deal with. When she first called me, she was very like, listen, this is who I am, and this is what I want. And she was kind of cussing at me and stuff. I mean, she knew the game because evidently her late husband used to be in construction. And so like her radar for shady was up. Okay.
Right.
So I had to go out and meet with her. I explained to her the process. I walked through the process with her. We selected the material. We selected all that stuff. We came out and there were little things that she wanted done that were very different than I would say most customers. Like for example, she wanted 2-inch drip edge on the eaves, but she wanted 1.5 inches on the rakes. Okay. Don't ask me why. It's just what she wanted. Okay. So that was a big deal to her. So then she was like, hey, listen, I know this is not being covered by insurance, but hey, I had this little shed in the back and it's the same color as my old roof was. Could you please, do a little extra? Normally I know guys would have probably charged her for that. We had the extra material. It wasn't a big deal, but I knew that she was the type of homeowner that would take a very, very positive experience. She's going to tell the world about it.
100%.
Right? She's going to tell the world about it. And that's exactly what she did. So she actually sent a letter to her agent, and she actually mailed me a copy of it. And so she called me, the agent called me and said he would like to meet. And so I came in, sat down and met with him, and he owned a building here locally. And it was an old, 3/4 of it was built up roof, flat roof. And then the back quarter of it was mod bit. And so anyway, so we're in his office and he's got water stains all over the tiles and all that kind of stuff. And literally he had like a trash can out in the middle of the office, his office, where he was like catching water.
Yeah.
And he asked me, he said, well, do you do commercial roofs? I said, we can. I didn't say that I did. I didn't say that we hadn't. I just said, we can.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, you come look at it. I said, sure. And he goes, do you have your letter? I said, yeah. So I hopped up, took a picture of it, walked around, did the whole company cam thing. Actually, I called Kyle. I said, hey, man, this is what I'm looking at. Never done one of these before. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, okay, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. I showed him the damage. It had hail damage. I mean, it had been beat up hard on the mod bit and the soft metals. And he goes, yeah, man, tell that guy to file a claim. That's what happened. Turned into a brand new TPO roof for the client. And, not only that, but not only is he a happy customer, but I mean, he's also, wanting to work with us as far as referring his clients to us. The only bad part about it is that, he works for a carrier that right now is not the best to get referrals from. So with that being said, it worked out well for everybody. And, that was kind of proof positive for me that what we're doing in the marketplace and how we're going about conducting our business with homeowners is working.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I think you mentioned a bit about that earlier. You said something along the lines of, what can you do differently? What can you do better? What can you bring to the table in this industry? So what was your thought behind that? I'm sorry, not just your thought, but your partner's.
Yeah. So again, I think what it ended up being is as far as like making it a positive experience. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
So I actually had some restoration work done on this house that I'm in now. And that was one of the things that the contractor told me that was most important for them. And I would say that, by and large, for us as a customer, he was like, listen, for us, it's all about your experience. And that really resonated with me. And so when we really looked at that, I started looking at some of the things that we see, like I told you about with, different people, doing fraudulent things and those kinds of things. And just the stigma of roofing contractors in general, especially in Texas. I wanted to be different, right? I wanted to be carry a certain, I wanted to be just a different kind of contractor. And so for us, it was really about the experience. And when we started making that part of our pitch, it seemed to resonate very, very well. Because I remember that when I was on the receiving end of it as a customer, it resonated very, very well, right? So, sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just look at what works and do your best way to, everybody's got their style, right? Everybody's got their door knocking pitch that they use. Jason's may be different than mine. Jason's would probably be more successful than mine would be, though.
I kind of just go straight for the jugular, so it doesn't always.
And I know that, right? But yeah, so I would say that it's not necessarily about, hey, you've got to be unique. Everybody's got, and there's so many different, like, for example, sales trainings. And I'm not talking about roofing sales training. I'm talking about just sales training in general, especially in corporate America and specifically in IT sales. There's all kinds of different methodologies that have come out, right? From different types of sales strategies. And although many of them are different, there's more alike in them than different in them, if that makes sense. So for us, it was really about taking what we know works, what we've seen work, what we've experienced working, and then just really kind of putting our own style and a feel around it, and then putting it into practice, and then seeing the results from it, and then going from there.
Right. I specifically like the fact that you mentioned experience, creating an experience, because you've been on the receiving end. I think a lot of the times, we have a tendency to forget that. So it's awesome that you guide yourself in your own business in that way. Okay. And social media, where can our viewers find you?
Yeah, so currently we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and we also have a profile on Nextdoor.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, and YouTube. I'm sorry, I forgot YouTube. We have YouTube now.
YouTube, okay. Do you have any questions for him before we wrap it up?
You gonna go to any of the shows coming up, like IRE or anything next year?
I think you were supposed to come to RoofCon in Houston last year, I think, if memory serves, and then you didn't. Is that right?
I was planning on it, and yes, stuff didn't happen correct. So yeah.
Yeah. We. I don't know. It depends. There's a couple of things. I'm waiting to see on a couple of things, but who knows? Maybe we will. I really don't want to travel just because I don't want to have to wear a mask on a plane. Like that just like makes it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. That's just me. But I don't know. We'll see. Potentially.
You could always drive across the country like the Stormers do.
Yeah. I think that would depend on where it was at. Actually, we do. Actually, I will say we do have my partner and one of our reps going to Level the Playing Field event in San Antonio next week. So.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, do you want to go ahead and wrap it up for today? We do appreciate so much you taking time out of your own day to be here in this interview with us. Amazing hearing all of the amazing experiences that you're building and what you've been doing with your business alongside with ours. So we appreciate your time very much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.